You're listening to the BowHunterPlanet podcast, your gateway to the wonderful world of archery.
Hey guys, welcome to the BowHunterPlanet podcast. Dave Thomas tonight, along with Tim Mazzarana as usual. And we got Bryan on from Mike's Archery, which is really exciting because Bryan does some of the stuff that we do in the sense of video production on YouTube. And I always like to talk with other YouTubers, especially because it is a lot of work and I think people don't realize it. But more importantly, I do want to talk about the pro shop and, the history. So without further ado, Bryan, welcome to the show. Tell us about yourself. Tell us about about Mike's Archery.
Guys, thanks for having me on. It's a pleasure, and hopefully it turns out good for both of us. It was kind of cool to see the invite and also that bronze placing caught us off guard. To be honest.
Yeah, man.
But to give you a little background, I guess Mike's Archery. We were talking a little bit before we started there. Dad started it back in 1971, so we've been at it for 51 years now. And went from retail in his back porch to we were a wholesale distributor throughout the 80s and still are today. So we shipped to other dealers around the country. And then when I took over, like in 96, when I graduated high school, they kind of passed the reins to me at that point. And so I took off and we headed towards the internet world at that point. We already had done some mail order through, just contacts and friends. So then we ventured back into that. And then within the last 2 years, we launched another retail store here at the shop. And so now we're covering everything, covering all our bases. If you need it, we got it. And if it's archery, we got it. And so we just cover the dealer base best we can, cover the, retail market best we can. And then, online sales as well, just trying to take care of people and put archery equipment in their hands.
Good deal. So that retail space, is that something that kind of came out of COVID in a way, or how did you guys decide to go back into the retail?
No, I mean, and to give you a little history to go along with it. So Dad stayed low key. The shop was literally in their house from the time it started up until a year ago.
Gotcha.
If you came to the shop and visited the shop, and a lot of people bought their first bow from Dad back in the 70s and 80s and whatnot. And so if you knew us, you would come, and the shop was literally in the basement of my parents' house. I would go back to their house every day to work. And if you showed up, it was, if you knew it was there, it was great. If you didn't know it was there, we didn't care, type thing. We just kind of stayed hidden. And it just kept growing and people kept showing up. And so you're coming into the basement of the house and we ran out of room. And so we just expanded the warehouse that we already had, added on, went to 10,000 square feet and put all the offices and just moved everything down to under one roof. It was time. There's some conveniences and niceties about being at your house. Well, their house for me, but then, when you get so big, and it was actually in their house, and then we had a warehouse on location too. So we were going back and forth between the two buildings a lot and shuffling inventory back and forth. And it just made things a lot more simple and made more sense to put it all under one roof and have some office space and then build the retail space around it. And so and now people don't, used to people pull up literally behind my parents' house. It's back in the woods a little bit, just off the main road. And you pull up in there, it's like, we got people that are in NAS programs coming over and they're like, are we in the right spot? I'm going to walk down to this guy's basement with my kid and we're never going to be seen again.
Strangely, I relate. I actually grew up, my dad owned his own business out of his house, same sort of thing. And it wasn't necessarily retail, but it was always, clients coming over and like, how do I get to your house? And am I in the right spot? Because you got to go around the back and walk through the back gate and all that kind of stuff. But also the gun dealer that we usually go to does some of the same stuff. And I'll tell you, there's just something about that hometown feel for sure. You can tell there's a passion when you run a business out of your house. You do it because you like it,
Yep. And when it's all family members working there, you either learn to do great things or you kill each other.
You got that right. You got well, yeah. Maybe having a bow shop doesn't help that scenario either. But there's a lot of stuff to get in trouble with there. But that's cool. So have you guys expanded the products that you do over time? The products that you sell, that you distribute?
Certainly. Yeah. I mean, over the years, it just kind of, you go with the flow. I know when I took over in the late 90s, that, and I don't want to say dad's old mentality, but a little bit old mentality. I mean, at that time we didn't accept credit cards even, which, not a new thing in the late 90s, but still kind of new.
Yeah.
But as far as products, dad hated crossbows. Now he's to the age that he might think he has to have one, but he's still shooting a vertical bow. So, when I came into it, I looked at it from a business standpoint, and I'm like, we can't sit here and only sell bows and accessories. And even to an extent, we didn't even sell bows at that time. We did it a couple brands. We had Hoyt, probably the longest of any of them. Dad did some stuff back when he was retail, but when he changed it over to wholesale in the 80s, he kind of did away with bows because you just couldn't wholesale.